There is definitely going to be some background noise, so I just apologize in advance. But I wanted to share I had posted a video about walking an album a day every day during 2025, and I wanted to make sure that I shared some of the top albums and why. But before I say that, I have to also put this caveat in that I have no musical background, no business reviewing music, but I wanted to share a little bit with you about the experience because I think it's something that can add to you if you listen to whole albums. And maybe you haven't exposed yourself to a bunch of music and you kind of just have the same stuff on your playlists and you listen to those over and over, or like New Music Friday on Spotify or something. But this intentional way of sort of picking and choosing music that you might not otherwise be exposed to is really cool. Basically, what I did, the process for choosing albums to listen to on those walks, was I started the year, I wanted to first only listen to music that was released in the 2000s. So I started the year in the first week, I listened to only albums that were released in the year 2000. Then the next week was 2001, and so on until I get to 2025. Then halfway through the year, I started on albums that started with A, and then the next week I did albums that started with B and made it all the way through Z. The last week I listened to whatever, but they all had to be released in the 2000s. Now, one thing I noticed is I was giving 5 out of 5 album ratings, and pretty soon I would give like a 5 to something, but then there'd be something that came along that was so magical that a 5 for something else that didn't even compare, I was stuck. I had to start giving things like 10,000 out of 5 or 500 out of 5. So going forward, I would make a criteria and it had to hit those. But, with no musical background, I was winging it out there. This was my first time doing it. And so I had to adjust. So I wanted to start with my album that I gave one album 10,000 out of 1 or 10,001, and it was Logic. This was an album I walked on day 331. I couldn't have told you who Logic was, didn't know anything about him. Um, Ultra 85 was the name of the album, and it was released in 2024. It was honestly too hard to pick a song because that album is like watching a movie. I listened to it on a treadmill walk. So sometimes I was outside, sometimes I was on the treadmill. That definitely affects how the ratings go because some really go well outside, some go on the treadmill. And I will share that as I go through. I'm going through 10.5 albums. No, 11 albums really. But, anyways, Logic, even if you're not a rap fan, and I'm not even sure what Logic is, he seems like a I don't even know. And sometimes it also made me really want to learn about the artist. And this was one of those where it's like, who is this guy? What is he about? Like I don't know anything about him. So that's a fun aspect of the project of walking to an album as well. Plus, I think we don't do ourselves any favors when we only listen to the songs that are most popular or that you hear on the radio or something, because quite often that's not the best song on the album. It was way too hard to pick a best song on the album, so I didn't, because it is more of a movie. It's like watching a movie. That's so impressive to me. That was another thing, finding out how talented musicians are beyond the obvious like skill of making a sound that is pleasant. It's also the writing, the producing, the putting things together. Like, there's so much to putting together an album. It's like writing a book or watching a movie. There's so many pieces and parts to that. So, I mean, I just give it to people who put themselves out there musically, because it's a lot of collaboration, a lot of teamwork, and I don't think we always think of that. I think we just attribute it to the person singing. or the voice that we hear. And there's so much more to an album than that. And I wish that we could hear more about the other people involved. Sometimes we do, but in this case, even kind of hearing his influences would be cool. Moving on. The very first 10,000 out of 5 that I gave, and this is the album that made me do that, was Santana's Shaman album. It was released in 2002, so it was week 3 of my walking, and the song called Nothing at All was my favorite song. The thing I love about this, besides Santana being so amazing, is all the people featured on the album. The dynamics makes a big difference, because if you're walking, say, for an hour, you kind of need the thing to like have some dynamics to it, some interest. It needs to be somewhat exciting, and this ticks all the boxes. If you've never listened to a full Santana album, this would be the one to start. It's called Shaman. The cover is really cool too. The guy's name that did it, his last name is Gutierrez. Really great artist. Rudy, maybe. The next album, every once in a while I'd be listening to an album and I'd be like, what in the world? It would hit me and I might shed a tear, and this was one of those. And I'm really sad to say, being a 90s kid, and I haven't even listened to that much Reba McEntire. Stronger Than Truth, the song The Clown. If you have ever gone through heartbreak, and when I'm talking about heartbreak, I mean world-shattering heartbreak, in the form of like love story heartbreak, not outside of that. But that song, The Clown, crazy. And the whole album, Stronger Than Truth. This was day 136, released in 2019. Dude, this made me want to listen to way more Reba. I'm sorry, Reba, that I haven't listened to more of your music. I'm just like, I'm blown away. She's just such a delivery artist. Like, the pauses that she makes to deliver lyrics like she does, that in itself, beyond the voice, beyond everything, is a skill. And she is worth listening to. That was a 10,000 out of 5. Another 10,000 out of 5. And there were just 5 of those that were like that. Was Ed Sheeran on day 340. This was released in 2014. The album is X, or it might be called Multiplication, because he had like multiplication, divide, plus, minus, I think, were 4 different albums, and I probably listened to all of them throughout the year. There's a song on there called Take It Back. He begins the song with sort of like a rap or spoken word type of vibe, and then goes into song. This album is really cool. I think it touches on a lot of emotions, which I think he's pretty known for. I have tickets to go see him next year. Like, that's the thing. This opened me up to music that I just don't listen to. I kind of just put on playlists that I always listen to, and it's the same songs over and over. And this just expanded my palette in the form of music and in the form of art, really. I mean, it's inspiring, and I like to draw and paint. I didn't say I was good, but it really helps inform the rest of your life, and it does make a big difference what you're listening to. So be mindful of that, and these typically are going to add to your life, make it richer, make it more, give it more depth. And so these albums definitely did that. Take It Back, great song. This one shocked me. This was a beach walk. This album was released in 2014. It was day 345. Michael Jackson, Escape. This was released after he passed. And here's the weird thing, is I just listened to the album without any background. I had no idea that that was the case. So I'm sorry for the spoiler. But when I was listening, the very first song on the album I knew it was released in 2014, but I didn't know that he passed before that. And so, like, when I listened to, because it was released in 2014, that first song was like really old Michael Jackson sounding, like, 80s, 90s, early 90s Michael Jackson sound. And so I had goosebumps because I was like, how did this happen? Like, this sounds like he sounded a long time ago, and it was released in 2014. So immediately I was like, what's going on? So the first half of the album is his pure sound. The second half of the album are those same songs remastered. It's an experience. That album, if you were around when Michael Jackson was on TV, alive, and super popular, you need to listen to this one because it's going to blow your mind. Just listen to it from start to finish, though. It's fun to listen on a walk because you're just kind of like focused on the walk and the music, and I feel like if you were listening to it while you were cleaning or something, it might not have the same effect because you're distracted and you kind of need to concentrate. There's also tons of really, as Michael Jackson does, there's tons of crazy content on there. And I don't mean crazy in that form. I mean it in more of a like challenging lyrics where it's not for the everyday. Just skim over this one. It's stop and pause and think of that type of music. Um, Love Never Felt So Good. That's so amazing, and like the fact that Justin Timberlake is on there. That's so interesting to me. There's so much interesting about this album. So I have to share. There is one album that got 3,000 out of 5, and it was Outkast Stank On Ya, released in 2000. This album, as far as walking goes, so fun. So fun. I might have done this. I'm pretty sure I did it on the treadmill, which made it more fun. But Outkast has a lot of dynamics and he has a lot of variety on his albums. He is not like this one sound type of dude. And the lyric content can often be very challenging. And while you may or may not agree with lyrics, that doesn't matter to me. It's always, is it provocative? I mean, thought provoking, not just like, you know, does it make you think for a second? And why would I think Outkast stank on ya or Outkast? I don't know, because that's the problem when you just listen to popular music of an artist, is you don't get the depth and the richness of who they are. And so this album is really cool to get to know Outkast a little better. Now I'm going to move into the two albums that I gave 1,000 out of 5. And one of them was Day 114, Chance the Rapper's coloring book. Angels or All Night were my favorite. I couldn't pick which one. It was released in 2010. The thing I love about this, I walked outside to this, and I'm going to tell you, it was an amazing walk because I am like laughing. I love a little bit of attitude, and this album gives a lot of attitude. This is like, I feel like this is Chance in his prime. The Chance we all love is on this, and he is not holding back. He is bold, and the album hits for a walk album for sure. Number 6, weirdly number 7 because I threw Outkast in there. Number 6, 1,000 out of 5. Day 300, 2023 release year was Raye, Raye. She is amazing, amazing, amazing. My 21st Century Blues was the album, and the song Ice Cream Man, listen. When a woman can put her voice to subject matter like that in the way that she did with such raw honesty, that's when a song just reaches in and grabs you by the heart, and you're just like, what just happened in my life? What just happened in my life? And her whole album is like that. She is just an artist who is able to pull, grab your heart, get into your emotions, and just really deliver in a way that few people can do. Where there's just like this, I want to say raw is the best way I can describe it, but it's not raw in like the way that Rihanna or Mary J. Blige, well, kind of, but it's not like abrasive raw. It's more just like, whoa, you just stripped back your heart and like just laid it out. You laid out your heart here for us. And so many people can resonate with what she's saying, which makes me sad. But, dude, she's amazing. Number 7. So there's the rest of these are 500 out of 5s. Number 7, Day 115, release year 2016. Weezer, White Album, Jacked Up. Enough said. This is a walk album all day, every day. It's just so fun. Who doesn't love Weezer on a walk? Treadmill, outside, doesn't matter. Number 8, I became a huge fan, and this I just found out this morning. I didn't even know it until I did a little research for this video. Oh no, I take that back. That's not this album. This album is very interesting. Uh, 500 out of 5, Day 275, released 2012. Imagine Dragons, Night Visions, Song Amsterdam. Such a fun album, so good. Um, Somebody I wasn't really familiar with. It kind of like gives Green Day, 1990s Green Day, REM. Uh, Trying to think of the other people that we listen to constantly. It'll come to me later. Uh, Live. Yeah, it kind of gives that type of vibe. That's where the influences had to be coming from for this album. So good. Because it had that retro vibe. This is the one I meant to be saying. The 500 out of 5, released in 2013. One Republic. Dude, this was their debut album, I believe. There's this, the album is native, maybe? Or in, I don't, I hate to say that. I think it was native. Preacher is the song, so if you look it up on Spotify, you go to the album. But I'm going to say this was a treadmill walk, I believe, and it was amazing. And it made me a huge, huge One Republic fan. And they hold massive records at the Grammys, massive records on Spotify. Like, they have status music in the music world. Like, I don't think, generally speaking, we know, like, unless you have been a One Republic fan, but if you're just like average Joe music listener like me, I've been missing out with One Republic, and I would absolutely go see one of their concerts. Without a doubt, it'd probably be the most fun concert ever. Um, High energy, also impactful lyrics, everything you want in an album is on this, and I think it's called Native. I hope so. I think so. But the best song on it is Preacher. It's also always hard to pick. So there's 2 more albums to go, both 500 out of 5. Number 10 is Nils Wolker. The album is called On. Pull of the Unknown is the song. This is an instrumental, but it was week O. And not a lot of albums start with the letter O. So this one, Nils, Nils, and Wolker, Wulker. It might be like a quartet that's jazz, but might be a person. I don't really know. But it's just so interesting, and there's so much talent. And I haven't listened to a lot of instrumental albums. This one was one of those, and I had a good time with it. Great walk album. Like, especially if you don't want the lyrics, sometimes it's better on your nervous system, better on your brain to just dial back the lyrics and just have instrumentals. So if you're having one of those days where maybe your brain's a little overactive, you're overthinking, you're in your head, and you just need to be in your body, this one will get you there. Number 11. This is the last one of the ones that were way up there on the rankings, like the top 11. Um, Release year 2002. The day of the walk was 330. Missy Elliott, Under Construction. I did a few Missy Elliott's, and hers were always 5 out of 5 or higher. Um, Again, another person where, yeah, I heard a couple of her songs in the 90s, and you know, I know who she is. I've seen her on TV. I'm aware of Missy Elliott. She's shouted out in a lot of lyrics and stuff. But the album Under Construction, it was very hard to pick a favorite song back in the day. And Can You Hear Me were my favorite. Again, if we look at Ray compared to Missy Elliott, this is female voices, and Reba, you know, super powerful female voices. Missy Elliott, this album of hers is a fun one, okay? And it kind of, what it does is it paints a beautiful picture of like how we kind of, and this is weird that it was released in 2002 because I feel like we need to pull it back right now. That Shaman album was released in 2002. So that's an interesting dynamic of this whole walking situation, is that you can follow the vibe of how music is going and what the lyrics are saying and the artists are sharing, because really, you know, it's like that, does art imitate life or does life imitate art type of thing? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is this like, are the artists inspiring us or are they inspired by us? Both, and I don't know. But as you watch the evolution from 2000 to now, the heartbeat behind all of the music is so different. And what I love, love, love about this album being in the early 2000s, and that One Republic album is sort of like this, that's 2013, so all before 2020, they're kind of saying, hey, can we bring some joy back? Can we bring some joy back? And then we hit 2020, and then from there forward, things go a little bit off the rails. And rightfully so, you know, again, it was like the artists were saying, hey, you know what? We need to bring the joy back. We need to bring the fun back. We need to get recentered. We need to, like, bring the happiness back, up the happiness level. And things changed, you know, and that's following 9/11. You know, this is right after 9/11. She's singing about this, and we've got her saying, I want to bring back that joy level. So I see how the turn of the century really kind of did a number on us. And the funny thing is, I do love to paint, I do love to draw, that type of thing. I've gotten really excited about reading about different artists and studying them, visual artists. And there was an interesting art movement called Art Nouveau. I'm not talking about Art Deco, I'm talking about Art Nouveau in at the turn of the century prior. And that's when electricity was becoming a thing. And it was starting to be in homes, and everybody was like, oh, it's dangerous, it's going to do this, it's going to do that, it's going to cause a problem. And people were like, hey, let's get back to nature, let's keep ourselves grounded, let's not get all up in the clouds and be, you know, dependent on things that we've gone without for so long. And I feel like we're in a little bit of an era like that now. So take a listen to some of these albums. Tell me what you think. What are some of your favorite albums from the 2000s? I would love to hear in the comments below, because literally, like, this was, again, the albums I was listening to during a week, there's only 7 I can choose from in the year 2000, 7 in the year 2024, 7 that start with N, and I'm sure there's many, many more that I could have chosen from, but I was just piling them together so that I could get a list together so that each day I was ready to walk. Um, I'm glad I did it. I encourage you to do it. It takes an exercisey type of goal and just makes it richer. So um, I am so happy that I did this, and I use music so much more now than I ever did. I appreciate musicians even more. I'm more interested in that. It's made my life so much better. It's like laying down a soundtrack to the movie that's your life. So choose those songs wisely. Choose songs that inspire, that motivate, that bring you some joy and peace and all the things that you want in your life. You can definitely do that with music, and I did that this year, and I'm so glad I did. So let me know if you have plans to do something similar. You could pick a genre, you could pick a decade, you could pick female artist, whatever theme you want to follow, and choose that, and do what you think would augment your life and your exposure to music that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. And that is the thing. And voices and people that are out there really motivating people, really inspiring, really helping make life better. And you can get inspired to do the same. So hope you enjoy the music. Keep listening. Share what you know and love in the comments below. And tell me any experiments that you want to try.